32,000 Americans just lost their jobs because airlines do not have the money to keep operating at their previous levels. What's up everybody, I am Jaspreet Singh from theminoritymindset.com and welcome to The Minority Mindset. Airlines are struggling because of this pandemic, and they made it clear that if they did not get another bailout by October 1st, they'd be forced to lay off a big chunk of their workforce. Well, a bailout was not passed by October 1st, and major airline companies like United Airlines and American Airlines have already begun firing their employees. You might have even seen the videos of flight attendants giving emotional speeches on their planes as they land for the last time. Here's the problem. Airlines run on small margins. They need their planes to be filled in order to make any money. Clearly, that's not happening in 2020. Normally, a strong business should have cash in their bank account to protect them from any sort of emergency or crisis, but airlines spent most of their profits over the last few years on stock buybacks. Stock buybacks are when you take the extra cash in your bank account and you use it to buy your own stock, which makes your stock price go up. Stock buybacks are great when times are good, but they are very painful when times are bad. I've bashed businesses for their bad spending habits a ton already, but now as we're coming to the end of 2020, things are a little bit different. A financially sound business is gonna have something like 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved in their bank account to protect them from a crisis, and if they are super conservative, they might have 12 months worth of expenses saved, but really no more than that. When Bill Gates was running Microsoft, he really wanted to build a conservative financial culture because he never wanted to face a financial crisis where he had to lay off employees out of panic, so he was one of the few people who went out of his way to build a company that had 12 months worth of expenses in their bank account. Money only has value if you use it. If you're just saving all your business's cash, then your business isn't growing because it's just saving all its money and your money is just sitting there and your business is idle. A business should be doing 3 things with their money. They should save some money to protect them from emergencies, they need to invest in their business, that way they can grow and keep innovating, and they should reward their owners for making a smart investment. The problem is, as of October 2020, we are in month 7 of this pandemic with no end in sight. Airlines are losing millions of dollars, not every quarter or every month or even every week. They are losing millions of dollars every single day just to continue operating their business. At that point, it doesn't matter how much money you save. Eventually, you're going to fail if you are just losing money every single day. In April, it became painfully clear that airlines were swimming naked. They had almost no money saved up and it was a huge mess, so government officials had to scramble to pass a taxpayer-paid bailout to save the airlines. I think everybody with a half-logical brain agrees that airlines should have done way more to protect them from any sort of crisis. This bailout gave airlines billions of dollars, that way they could continue running their business. This April bailout was almost like an emergency fund, so to speak, given to airlines, paid for by you, taxpayers, because they had no cash saved up to protect them from an emergency. So this bailout was essentially giving the airlines an emergency savings account, that way now they have cash to protect them from an emergency, and the whole idea was that this bailout will give them the money they need to continue running the business between April and October. The whole idea was that by October, either this virus will be completely gone and people will be flying like normal, or that there will be another stimulus bill passed by October, and this would give airlines more money, that way we could prevent more bankruptcies. Oh, and prevent huge layoffs too. Here we are in October with no cure to this virus, an uncertain stimulus bill, and no thumbs up button smashed, but now! The April stimulus bill that gave airlines the bailout said that airlines can do essentially whatever they want with this free money to stay in business, but they're not allowed to pay their executives huge bonuses, they're not allowed to pay out stock dividends, and they're not allowed to fire any of their employees until October 1st. So airlines got creative. They got your billions of tax dollars in April, and as soon as they got this bailout money, they went out and they announced major layoffs coming in the future, because their thought was, if employees get scared and they leave the company voluntarily right now, then airline companies will be able to save money on payroll without violating what the government said, because they're not actually firing anybody, they're just telling people that layoffs are coming, so if you leave voluntarily, we're not actually doing anything wrong. Then come August and September, and airlines are still bleeding cash, and at this point, airlines started threatening the government, saying that if you do not give us another bailout, then we are going to see another round of huge layoffs. Well, a few things happened. First, Democrats and Republicans both said that they wanted to do something to save these jobs, but they couldn't agree on a number. Democrats said that they wanted to pass a multi-trillion-dollar bill, and Republicans said, no way, we're not paying anything near that amount, so they never came to an agreement. Then after a few weeks of debating and arguing, politicians realized that they shouldn't have to work this much, so they went on a long recess while millions of Americans around the country were waiting on a new stimulus plan. And then when things finally started moving again, President Trump and other officials in office got the virus, and so things got delayed again. Long story short, no stimulus plan was passed by October 1st and the layoff started. Now, if you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, you know my thoughts on government bailouts and free money. It is expensive. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Free money is the most expensive kind of money there is. Our United States government is already drowning in debt, and our national debt is skyrocketing faster than ever. Every time we print more money, inflation kicks in and life becomes more and more expensive. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class gets wiped out. This used to just be a soundbite, but the more money we print, the realer this becomes. So this is the situation that we're left with at the time we record this video, and the government essentially has three options of what they can do. Let the airlines fail and let the free market win, give the airlines another bailout and risk moral hazard, or let the airlines fail and give money to the people. The United States is supposed to be a free market, which is essentially survival of the fittest. Strong businesses survive and the weak fail. The problem with this free market system is that over the years, we have seen the government get more and more involved in private businesses through things like bailouts. The government prints money at your expense, and then the government, get to choose who they want to save with their government money. So let's say they decide that they only want to help business owners who have nice beards. If they decided that, they can print money and only bail out businesses who are run by people who have nice beards, and everybody else fails. In a real free market, there's no concept of a bailout or being too big to fail, because in a free market, if you fail, and another business will come along and take your place. Every economist watching this video right now is getting really excited, and they're saying, yes, bring back the real free market and stop bailing out businesses. But I think we all know that practically that's not going to happen, especially during an election year. This brings us to option 2. What about a bailout? I mean, is $25 billion really so bad? I mean, we've already printed so many trillions. You know what? You're right. At this point, $25 billion is really just a drop in the bucket. But it's a slippery slope. At what point do we stop bailouts? And at what point do we stop just throwing money out there? Plus, we have to talk about moral hazard. I, like I think a lot of people, had never heard of the term moral hazard until 2008. You might remember that prior to the 2008 crash, banks were making all these crazy risky loans because they thought the economy could never slow down, and they thought real estate prices could never go down. Then when the housing market collapsed, that's when the whole financial system was on the brink of failure. And that's when the government came in and they started printing out all this money and they started bailing out banks left and right. And then they said, hey banks, it would be nice if you never did that again. With all these bailouts came the discussions over moral hazard, which says, if you take big risks and you lose and you don't have to feel the pain or get punished because you're getting bailed out, what is your incentive not to take big risks? The 2008 crash and bailouts gave the signal that, hey, if you are a bank, you can make as many loans as you want and you can make as many risky loans as you want, because no matter what, even if you fail, the government will have your back. To be fair, things are a little bit different in late 2020 because airlines are struggling not just because of bad business decisions, but because of everything else going on around us. You know, this pandemic. Back in March and April when the pandemic first started, yeah, 100% moral hazard. These airlines didn't even have money saved up to cover 2 weeks worth of expenses, which is why they started panicking and begging for money. It was embarrassing. But not being able to operate your business for 7 months because countries are shut down and states are restricting travel and people are scared to travel because of this virus, yeah, that's a little bit different. That's why the government is trying to pass a new stimulus plan. And this is where everybody says, Well, what if we just let the businesses fail and give money to the people? Our economy runs on spending, and so if people have more money to spend, they'll be spending more money, which means they'll be stimulating the economy more because businesses will be making more money, and eventually when things get back to normal, then somebody else will start a new airline and things will be fine. True, you got some fair points, but practically speaking, it's not gonna happen. We are in an election year, and watching major companies fail right around an election is not a good image for PR. On the flip side, Congress is trying to pass another round of stimulus checks to help people. Both Democrats and Republicans agreed that they want to send another round of stimulus checks, but they just can't agree on all the minor details, which is why nothing has been done. So chances are that over the coming weeks and maybe months, we're gonna see more stimulus checks sent out to people, and we're gonna see money given to airlines, that way they can continue running their business and to prevent more layoffs and maybe to end some of these furloughs. Now, obviously, this is gonna play effect in how our economy functions and what's going to happen in the stock market, because anytime more money is printed, it affects the economy and it affects the stock market. Plus, you also don't want to build an economy and a stock market that is reliant on a bunch of free money being printed and injected into the economy, because that has its own side effects. So this is where we are, and I cannot predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I can do is I can help you stay up to date on what is happening thanks to our free Market Briefs newsletter by Minority Mindset. With our newsletter, our team breaks down the top finance and business news, and then we show you how this news affects your wallet. That way you can be smart with your money. Our Market Briefs newsletter is completely free, and you can subscribe to our newsletter by clicking the link up here or by clicking the link in the description below. By the way, our financial news emails are separate from our financial education emails. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, share it with one friend, that way we can help spread the word. If you want to learn more about how you can invest in companies on the stock market, I already made a video on this, and you can watch this video on YouTube by clicking this button right over here. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep hustling.